Let me start with one question to Professor Gurukul. This traditional knowledge system, I think for the past 30, 40 years, there are two names that are coming to my mind. One is Dharam and the other is Claude Alvarez. They are not as active as before. Dharam is no more, I think. Yeah, no more. And Claude Alvarez is still fighting. Shitty is based to Goa. You have rightly pointed out that the traditional system can never be completely replaced with modern system, and vice versa also. Modern system cannot be replaced with the traditional knowledge system. So all those people, especially these two personalities, the ideas they have put forward, why haven't those ideas entered into the academic domain, and how come there were observably no researchers who have taken note of these ideas and then passed on to the academics?
The main reason is what I stated at the initial part of my lecture in the form of a generalization. What is knowledge is decided by the powerful and influential in society. Now, the society that we live today is dominated by capital interest. This advanced capitalist interest or techno-capitalist interest of industries, and the competencies expected to be built up are competencies necessary for facilitating better accumulation. That is the purpose of the time. You cannot easily escape. And we people have been groomed to use our intelligence faculty for facilitating accumulation, for facilitating maximization of difference between cost and price. That's it. That is how to reduce cost on the one side and how to enhance profit by putting a very high price. And it involves all kinds of strategies relating to commodity fetishism. We have already forgotten the actual social process of production of an object. We call it a commodity. The moment you call a social product a commodity, the social background of its production is lost. And you think that commodity is something which is an avatar in the market. No, commodity is not just available there as Swayambhu. It is a social product, but it is not treated as a social product, but it is treated as a commodity. And then it helps you to enjoy it as a commodity available in the market. And also, you don't have to make an inquiry into the cost of it. You are interested only in the price about it. And you think only whether you can afford to buy it or not. This is one major issue. We are not really imbued with the capacity to take appropriate decision in the context of sustainability on the one side, and environmental justice on the one side, and social justice on the other. The principal industry is capitalist industry, and that industry's interest is energy intensive, capital intensive, profit maximizing, international production for global consumption. So goods will get dumped in our markets, and advertisements will educate you to go and consume them. There is no botheration about energy. And we are trained like that. Through the educational process, we don't think about values of conservation. That problem will remain in this context as well. So it's very, very difficult, and also it's going to be really countercultural in the major domain of education, as Professor Krishnaswamy pointed out very clearly. Now, who is going to constitute the Board of Studies? Who will prepare the syllabus? No, these things are routine. Any university will have to have all these conditions satisfied. And what will be the overall attitude of the executive committee of the university? And finally, when the student is out, as Professor, I forgot your name, computer professor from Pune? Pramod Kumar. Yes, as Professor Pramod Kumar understand. Who are going to be the takers of our students? It's a big issue. And in that sense, it is going to be countercultural. In the mainstream education, it will have discharged the function to be labeled as counterculture. And that radical experimental things will not be sustainable in the system structured by the dominance of the values that I am talking about. The industrial values, the capitalist values. But capitalism has to be told about the capitalist potential. Then it will. Now, a large number of corporate houses are investing money for production of knowledge based on local knowledge. That is the advantage. But for that, mere sentimental lessons will not help. It's a big challenge. Pedagogic challenge is therefore twofold. On one side, we have to be up to date in the knowledge area, and on the other, we should have a computer specialist quite sympathetic to the kind of knowledge that we have, quite sympathetic to understanding the pedagogic challenges that we face, the knowledge production challenges that we face. The challenges of knowledge production, knowledge transmission that we face as humanities, social science teachers should be clear to a computer scientist, computer technology, computer scientist, and computer scientists should be sympathetic also. At the moment, digital humanities and digital social sciences, it's just a big dump of all kinds of nasty material, and you are doing data mining there. I'm quite skeptical about that kind of story. I don't find critical intelligence going well with that. It's just a dump area. And computer scientists or computer technologies is very right in calling it information. Computer technologies is not making any tall claim. Information. And you have commendable body of data, unmanageable, it is totally bewildering, and computer techniques help you to navigate. You can retrieve, you can sort out. It is not possible for you to go through it and then do the exercise. This tabulation work is what you are expecting, then computer will help, but at the level of information.
Thank you, sir. We have teachers with a number of years of experience. Could you come up with your experience of teaching the subject for maybe for 10 years or 20 years? And have you ever thought of indigenizing and then digitizing?
I'm Sadhna from Loyola Degree College, Secunderabad. I would like to go back right to the beginning of the session today when we talked about looking at the future. I mean, we talked about a 5-year-old child in say LKG, UKG, and how do we equip him 50 years later, 80 years later. I think what we are presently in, or I personally feel, having been teaching for so many years, I think we are in a vicious circle. Till such time we have some leeway with regard to the syllabus. We are talking about dumping data. I think with all the computerization and all the information technology coming in, we are still only passing on information to the students. Maybe the body of information is increasing. When we were students, we would have say 20, 25, 40 textbooks to refer to. Now they have the world open in front of them. But still it is information dumping only. Where are we stimulating the mind of the student to think critically? Do we leave him halfway and say, now you look for the data, improve upon it, probably know a little more than what I know. You know, the teacher and the taught attitude, I think that is where a little bit of rethink has to be done. One is this, and the second is, you know, a system of education, not just the evaluation. We are evaluating them solely on examinations, assignments. Why not something more? I think the Vice Chancellor was referring to how they are changing the patterns at Stanford, Harvard and all. Why do we still have an examination pattern where the time limit is fixed? 3 hours, 5 questions, this so many marks, and that is how I'm going to evaluate you for all that you have studied in the semester. But I feel that is not proper. My suggestion, or if I had the leeway, what I would feel is, let's not put a moratorium on the time. Let us give them just topics. Maybe call them still assignments if we follow the traditional pattern, but give them the leeway to, satiate their quest for knowledge. Let them actually go, at least at the master's level, let them look for something on their own. Let us not give them everything on a platter. Till such time we do this, the next generation of social scientists, I don't think would be great thinkers. And my personal view is we need to stimulate the mind now, at least at the master's level. Till the undergrad level it is fine, but at the master's level we need to stimulate the thinking of the student and ask them to do more and more on their own with the guidance of the faculty.
I am Shaileshri from Mount Carmel College. I teach psychology. As you correctly said, sir, we have very few books written by Indian authors. We still look towards the West. Though, of course, as sir pointed out correctly, in psychology, of course, as many people know or are aware of, when you study a human being, you have to look at all the aspects, right? So cultural factors do play a very dominant role. But we have very few textbooks which talk about cultural factors in India. And as people know, India is a varied land with so many cultures we have, I think running into hundreds, right? But when we have to give examples to our students, it's only difference between whites and blacks or Hispanics, okay? No Indian examples are there. Or as Ms. Sadhana pointed out, we have to go to the net, read few examples and then pass on to the students, or they can do on their own also, not that everybody has access. And even when it comes to doing or conducting any test or material for that matter, all these materials, that is I'm talking about personality test or intelligence test, of course we have a few which have been adapted by Indian authors, but most of the tests have been done on the Western population. There are few which have been Indianized on the Indian population, so we have adapted. But most of the tests are still Western oriented. So how do we pass on this knowledge to our students? And about digitization, I don't think, I mean, of course there are a lot of videos nowadays the CDs which help students to learn more, but I don't think that is helping them to gain any more knowledge. It's just, I think students like to view the videos because it's very boring to listen to a lecture for 1 hour. Apart from that, I don't think it is helping them in any other matter.
To what extent have you integrated ICT?
In most of the chapters, we try to see to it that we teach them through showing a video clip or telling them to prepare, and presenting it in the class. That is helping them to some extent to stimulate thinking, but maybe examination point of view, I don't think it is, the knowledge is still imparted to that extent.
But I do believe economics compared to other subjects a tad bit more empirical, because we do use econometric models to look into the local data which we collect and fit models such that we empirically show that this is the result, and on the basis of this we are trying to come under a policy implication. But the problem here is We do not teach this kind of knowledge in the undergrad or in the master's level. The problem is we only stick to, okay, this is the theory, you know, this is the assumptions, this is the basic crux of the theory, and this is the applicability, that's all. So how do you actually empirically test the theory? How is it even today it is useful? Unfortunately, it is not being taught, it is not being questioned in the examination also. In Mount Carmel, we are trying to incorporate this in a particular stream, which is the BSc course, which is where maths and statistics comes along with economics. It's very difficult, I wouldn't say impossible, but very difficult to introduce this in streams like history, economics and political science, or political science and sociology. The reason is students are not that equipped with maths and statistics. So I would say to make it scientific, any stream needs maths and statistic base. Even to put it into computer knowledge, you need maths and stats. So much more preference should be given to these two subjects, I personally feel.
Most of the theories are more in the Western countries. So blindly you adopt those theories to Indian context, or
no, you need to tweak it a little to make it, to have it towards, the theory is there. It is definitely formulated by the West, but you can mostly relate it to the Indian context as well. Yes, that is there. It's not that it is only related to the West.
you rely on data supplied by the government agencies, which are not totally related.
We do.
Have no mechanism except for.
We do have primary sources of data where you go into the field and collect the data. So data collection is not a problem, even whether it is quantitative or qualitative data. Even for qualitative, for that matter, we have econometric models which deal with qualitative data. So I wouldn't say data is a problem, but only the methodology of teaching is a problem. That is what I